Imagine a picture-perfect island. Turquoise water laps at sugar-white beaches and palm trees sway in the warm wind. It looks like paradise, a place where worries melt away. But trouble is brewing beneath the surface, a storm that will change everything. Our story starts on a small island nation. Everything seems peaceful, but political tensions simmer just below the surface, like a pot about to boil over. Here we meet a young, ambitious man who loves his homeland. He works hard and earns respect, but his path takes a sharp turn as the political situation changes. Forced to leave his island paradise, he ends up in a giant foreign city, thousands of miles away from everything he knows. Even in this strange new place, his love for his home burns bright. He becomes a voice for change, a beacon of hope for those who dream of a better future for their island. But fighting for what you believe in can be dangerous. As the story unfolds, we'll see just how dangerous. We'll travel from the sunny beaches to the rainy streets of London. This is the story of ambition, exile, and the fight for justice. It will take us to the heart of power, show us the darkness hidden behind smiles, and reveal the bravery of those who stand up for what's right. Are you ready to uncover the truth? Let's dive in. Back in Seychelles, Gerard's smarts and love for his country landed him a sweet job. He became the special assistant to the president, working right at the center of power. It wasn't just a fancy title. He even got to lead the brand new foreign ministry. For a young guy in his 20s, this was a huge deal. But being a big shot didn't stop him from rocking the football field. He kept playing for the national team, a beloved athlete and respected official all rolled into one. Things were good. Then boom, everything changed. In 1977, while the president was out of town, the prime minister staged a coup. Suddenly, a whole new crew was running the island. This new leader, Rene, wasn't exactly Mr. Sunshine. He cracked down on anyone who disagreed with him, and even wanted to shut down all the football clubs. This didn't sit well with Gerard, who loved the sport. But even worse, Rene planned a forced boot camp for all teenagers. Gerard saw this as brainwashing, a way to control young minds. He spoke out against it, which wasn't exactly the smartest move under this new regime. Gerard's defiance made him a target. In 1979, after some student protests, he and over 100 others were arrested without any charges. They were thrown into a prison guarded by foreign troops, completely cut off from the world for 9 long months. When he finally got out, things weren't much better. He was stuck at home, his every move watched. The once free Gerard was now a prisoner in his own house. The final blow? They forced him to leave Seychelles altogether. Exiled, Gerard found himself adrift, far from his beloved island home. But even far away, Gerard wouldn't give up on his dream for a better Seychelles. Forced out of Seychelles, Gerard landed in South Africa, another country in the throes of its own troubles. But even far from home, his dream of a free Seychelles burned bright. He started a group called the Movement for Resistance, aiming to peacefully overthrow Rene's regime. South Africa wasn't a permanent home, though. In 1981, Gerard got tangled up in a risky plan that would change everything again. He arrived at a hotel in Nairobi, Kenya, run by a guy who knew Seychelles well. Gerard wasn't there for a vacation. Reports say he was working for the ousted President Mancham on a daring plot. Their mission? To get Mancham back in power. This wasn't some backroom deal. It involved mercenaries from several countries, with Kenya as their secret base. While in Nairobi, Gerard and his right-hand man, Paul, were seen booking a fancy plane. This plane was supposed to secretly fly Mancham and his crew back to Seychelles after the coup, pretending to be American tourists. But the plan failed. This risky move had big consequences for Gerard. In 1982, South Africa kicked him out under pressure from Rene. It was part of a deal to get some captured South African mercenaries released from Seychelles. One of Rene's demands? Gerard had to go. Uprooted again, Gerard set his sights on London, a city that welcomed many political exiles. In this busy city, he kept fighting for change in Seychelles through his movement for resistance. London gave him a platform. He did interviews, wrote articles, anything to keep the world talking about what was happening in his homeland. His education, experience, and way with words made him a powerful voice for the opposition. Being in exile wasn't easy. Gerard had to adjust to a new culture, weather, and way of life. The gray skies of London were a far cry from the sunny beaches of Seychelles, but he pushed on, fueled by his dream of a free Seychelles. While Gerard was building a new life, he wasn't alone. People loyal to Rene's government were watching him. They listened to his calls, followed him around, and reported everything back to Seychelles. By November 1985, Gerard's life in London had become routine. He was still active politically, giving interviews and staying in touch with other exiles. On the morning of November 29th, he called to reschedule a doctor's appointment. It was a normal thing, something most people wouldn't even think twice about. But for Gerard, this simple call would seal his fate. Unbeknownst to him, his enemies were listening. Later that day, Gerard stepped out of his home in North London, unaware he was walking into a trap. The quiet street was about to become a crime scene, shocking the world and leaving a mystery that endures to this day. What happened next would send shivers through the Seychellois exiles, raise questions about international politics, and leave a family and a nation searching for answers. More importantly, it would tragically cut short the life of a man who dedicated himself to democracy and justice for his beloved Seychelles. On a crisp November morning, the quiet street in Edgware shattered with the pop-pop-pop of gunfire. Neighbors, startled awake by the noise, peeked out their windows to see a scene straight out of a movie, not their peaceful suburban block. There, right on his doorstep, lay Gerard Hoarau, a passionate leader who tirelessly fought for a free Seychelles, was gone. The gunman, described as a blur in a gray tracksuit, vanished as quickly as he appeared, leaving behind a community in shock and a mystery that would baffle investigators for years to come. News of Gerard's death spread like wildfire, first through the tight-knit Seychellois exiles in London, then across the globe. Headlines screamed, "Exiled leader gunned down in London. Political assassination on British soil. Seychelles activists silenced." As the initial shock wore off, questions burned in everyone's mind. Who did this? Was it a random attack or something more calculated? The British police, known for their meticulousness, jumped on the case. The investigation landed with Scotland Yard's anti-terror unit, a clear sign they suspected a political motive. A police spokesperson, Mike Cobb, laid it out plainly. The fact that anti-terror is involved suggests there's a political reason behind the shooting. As investigators dug deeper, they made a chilling discovery. The murder weapon? A Sterling submachine gun, the exact kind used by the Seychelles police. This fueled suspicions that Rene's government was somehow involved. But the plot took another twist. British police found evidence that Gerard's phone had been tapped. A listening device was hidden in a box on the street, recordings sent to a safe house bought just for this purpose. Money for the operation came from a secret account. Gerard's last phone call, the one where he rescheduled his doctor's appointment, took on a new meaning. Could this simple act have unknowingly sealed his fate? The timing suggested his killers used this information to lie in wait. The investigation unraveled a complex web of international intrigue. They believed there was likely another person involved, maybe a Seychellois who knew Gerard and could point him out to the killer. President Rene's government vehemently denied any involvement, but their denials rang hollow to many, especially Gerard's fellow exiles and international observers. James Mancham, the ousted president, spoke out. "We know for a fact their agents bugged exile groups. If they bug our homes, they can do much worse."
We live in a very ruthless world, and we know for a fact that the house of many exile groups were broken into, and we've been bugged by agents of the Rene government. Now, if they are prepared to pay agents to bug our houses, then they should be able to do a lot of more.
What's your reaction to the news?
But as you can see, I'm shocked and I'm sad and I'm very disturbed because, once madness starts, you don't know where it stops.
Charles Menel, an Africa expert, offered his analysis. Considering how people just disappear in Seychelles, it seems likely René's government is behind this. He even called Mr. Horao, the exiled leader, public enemy number one.
Well, judging by recent history in the Seychelles, where a lot of people have disappeared, car accidents and so on, I think it's highly likely that René's government is behind this. René has himself said that the leader of the opposition over here, Mr. Ouattara, was public enemy number one. And so I think it would be very hard to come to any other conclusion at this stage.
Perhaps the strongest accusation came from Paul Chow, a leader in the Seychelles national movement. There's no doubt it's Mr. René, the Marxist president. Just last month, his party said they should go after enemies abroad.
Mr. René, the Marxist president of Seychelles. Only last month, his party Congress passed a resolution to the effect that he should take action against enemies of the revolution in Seychelles and abroad.
The case became a global affair. Questions were raised in British Parliament, and diplomatic back channels buzzed with activity. This wasn't just about one man's death. It exposed the murky world of international politics. Despite their best efforts, British police couldn't find Gerard's killer. The case remains unsolved, a cold file that continues to intrigue and baffle to this day. Gerard Horao was laid to rest in London, his body preserved in a special casket. The hope. One day, he could be returned to his beloved Seychelles. It was a sad reminder of a life cut short and a dream left unfulfilled. The shock waves from Gerard's death traveled far and wide, from his close-knit Seychelles community to powerful government offices. His story wasn't over on that cold November day. It took surprising turns in the years that followed. New details emerged, adding twists to this already complicated case. One surprising source was a high-powered American lobbyist named Grover Norquist. Hired by President René to smooth things over in the U.S. Congress, Norquist downplayed the human rights concerns about René. He shrugged and said René just preferred to skip elections for a while, and that there were only one or two people who, well, disappeared. This casual attitude towards serious accusations showed the messy mix of international politics and business interests. It also made it clear how hard it was to get justice for Gerard and others who opposed René's regime. While René always denied involvement in Gerard's death, he admitted to tapping his phone and even listening to his last call. This wasn't proof of anything, but it definitely raised questions about how closely they were watching exiled figures. Years passed, but those who knew Gerard and admired his fight for democracy in Seychelles never forgot him. Journalists, researchers, and activists kept his story alive, hoping to find new clues that might solve the mystery of his death. Back in Seychelles, Gerard's legacy was a mixed bag. Some saw him as a hero who resisted a controlling government. Others, especially those who supported the government, viewed him as a troublemaker who threatened stability. The political landscape in Seychelles eventually shifted. In 1993, the country opened up to multiple political parties, a big change from the one-party system Gerard fought against. This change came too late for him to see, but many felt it was a victory for the principles he believed in. Meanwhile, in London, police occasionally revisited the cold case, hoping that new technology or a lucky break might finally crack it. But for Gerard's family and supporters, the case remained unsolved, a source of constant frustration. In a sad twist, Gerard's dream of returning to Seychelles even after death never came true. His body, preserved in a special casket in a London cemetery, became a somber reminder of the sacrifices people make for their beliefs. As decades passed, Gerard Horao's story became part of Seychelles' larger political journey. It's a warning about the dangers faced by those who challenge powerful regimes, but also a testament to the strength of those who fight for democracy. For many Seychellois, both at home and abroad, Gerard is more than just the way he died. They remember him as a brilliant, passionate man who loved his country deeply and was willing to give everything for what he believed in. Today, as Seychelles continues to grow as a young democracy, Gerard Horao's story serves as a powerful reminder of its complex past. It's a testament to the lasting impact one person can have, even against seemingly impossible odds. The truth about that November day in 1985 may never be fully known, but Gerard's story continues to inspire and challenge us. It makes us think about the cost of fighting for what you believe in, the long reach of authoritarian rule, and the ongoing fight for justice and democracy around the world. As we wrap up this look at Gerard Hurrah's life, we feel a mix of emotions: admiration for his bravery, sadness for his early death, and frustration that we might never know for sure what happened. But the most important way to remember him might not be to solve the mystery of his death, but to continue the work he started. His dream of a democratic Seychelles, where everyone can have a say, has in many ways come true. The country still faces challenges, but the fact that Seychelles can now talk openly about politics without fear is a victory for Gerard and others like him. Gerard himself rests in a special casket in a London cemetery. Maybe one day, he'll finally make it home to the islands he loved. Until then, his story serves as a powerful reminder of the human spirit's strength, the complexities of political battles, and the slow but steady march towards justice. In the end, Gerard Hurrah's legacy is more than just that one day in Edgware. It's about the life he led, the things he believed in, and the change he inspired. It's a story that stays with us, making us think about our own beliefs and how far we go to fight for them. Even though Gerard is gone, his ideas live on. His dream of a free and democratic Seychelles is carried forward by new generations who continue to strive for a brighter future for their island nation. Okay guys, before you dash off, don't forget to hit that like button. That keeps the creepy cases coming your way. While you're at it, smash that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. You don't want to miss our next dive into the mysterious unknown. Until next time, stay curious.